Hello everyone, I welcome you back to our virtual learning platform students. Today we are going to see economics, that is the branch of social science, and in economics we have already started chapter number 2. Yes, what did we learn in our previous lectures? You have to recall, you have to recapitulate it once again, right? So going ahead, we will have a quick review and recap of our lesson which we learned in earlier two parts, right? The chapter's name, I hope you remember the chapter's name, students. Yes, that is people as resource. So going ahead, we will have a quick recap and we will understand how people as a resource are identified as an asset rather than a liability. Let's go ahead. So this slide opens up with the chapter's name, people as resource, and we will have a quick recapitulation where in the overview we studied students, people as individuals, we have to be considered as an asset rather than a liability by the government. We did study in our earlier lectures why human has to be considered as an asset, not as a liability. Asset, if you are investing today into gold, for example, tomorrow the price of gold is going to go up, and as you are investing in it, it is an asset. What is liability? Just for responsibility's sake you are doing. You're not worried about the outcome, right? So here in this chapter, the government has been urged to see people as an asset, the citizens as their asset rather than liability. Only because the people, contribute to the strength of the uh, entire nation's economy. They have to be considered as an asset. Only when an individual grows, he earns. His earnings do matter as it has been paid as in the form of tax to the government, and when an individual grows, side by side the organization grows, and with this too the country as well grows. So that is the reason this chapter is urging the government to see the people, the citizens of their country as their asset rather than liability. Then going ahead, we did study the story of Sakal and Vikas. We did study where Sakal's father was a farmer and mother, she was a housewife. And Sakal had one brother and one sister, correct? Sakal was very intelligent, so he was been put into the school that was in village, and as he was very bright, he studied very well. Then for the further education, his father took loan and he studied software engineering over there. Then going ahead, he was appointed in a private firm. Yes, he was given job in a private firm. Then over there, Sakal actually gave his skills. The skills are your internal knowledge that will give the outcome for your end product. So if Sakal was having knowledge of the software skills, obviously he designed a new software for the company that was the end product, and due to that Sakal got promotion along with the company's manager as well. So here you can see Sakal's promotion plus the manager's promotion, where the organization had a good impact because of Sakal's work, and along with these both, Sakal and the manager, the organization too grew. So here Sakal has been considered as the asset. While in the other hand, Vilas, we did read that his father passed away when he was 2 years old, and his mother sold fish to maintain the daily routine of their life, to make the expenses, and she just earned only rupees 150 per day. Due to this, when Vilas he fell ill one day, he was suffering through arthritis. He was not being able to show to the doctor. Clear. So this all circumstances was faced by Vilas. Now what happened going ahead, Vilas was not interested in studies as well, as his mother did not also initiate to put him in school. So going ahead, his mother fell ill, and At the same time, Vilas did not have money. So Vilas was forced to sell fish in the same fish market. So here Vilas did not grow. Clear? So here he is being treated as liability rather than an asset. So where Sakal is earning a much more good amount of salary, Vilas being self-employed, he earn only meager amount, that is limited amount. Clear? Then we went to economic activities by men and women, where we saw the contribution of men earlier from say when the existence of man came into the contract state. Clear? From that time it has been assumed that men can do all the physical activities and women are not considered worth to do the heavy duty activities. But this is not true, right? We all know as generations passed, women, they gave challenge, one-to-one challenge to all the work done by men. If today men are scientists, women are also scientists. If in sports, if you see, if men play cricket, women too play cricket, right? So now everything is seen in the skill level rather than the gender level. Earlier in economic activities we did learn the example of economic activities as we see in this lesson, where Sakal's father was a farmer, right? He had the whole and sole responsibility of earning and looking after his family, where his wife, that is Sakal's mother, she worked only as an housewife. Now over here, Sakal's father's income would be considered as the human capital. Clear? And where his mother worked at home, it is not counted as the human capital. We did study this in our previous lectures. Then we studied about the quality of population as well. Quality of population is a term where all the citizens of the country come into existence, right? Now from that, how many citizens, how many people, or how much people are skilled and how much percentage of people are unskilled, this all is been segregated. Not entire population counts into the quality of population. Only the salaried, the self-employed, the skilled persons are considered in the quality of population. This is because they contribute to the capital growth of the economy. Clear? Then we did study about education as well, how education plays a vital role in shaping one's career, in giving a shape to one's plans to get executed in a much mature manner. So we did study about this in our last lecture as well, where I gave you an example about how education should be seen as an asset. I did tell you that doing 10th and 12th, if you see as an liability, it's only 10th and 12th, we will go and see ahead. If you do this, obviously you are not going to get the proper skill of what are you studying. If you are doing your 10th just for liability, you are not able to go and select your streams further, whether you want to go in arts, science or commerce, correct? Because you did not develop your interest during your 10th standard. But at the same time, if you take that particular thing as an asset, if you know the value of education, the importance, the eminence of education, you probably will see education as an asset and invest your time, your hard work in that, so that whatever hard work you are doing now, you are definitely going to bear a fruit afterwards. That is, you are the person who is going to plan out your structures to be studied upon, that is your branches to be studied upon, which branch you want to go to, what study you are going to do, what job you want to fetch. Everything is been decided by you, and at the end you do get your job because of your education plus your skills. Education goes with skills, children. It is as simple as that. Clear? So if you treat yourself as an asset, when you go ahead, you will get paid back in a much superior manner. But if you just take it for a liability sake, nobody is in loss, the individual himself or herself is in loss. So this all points we did cover in our last lecture, children. Let us go ahead and see what further this lesson has to offer us. Going ahead, we will see the importance of health. Firm maximize profit. This term means how an organization makes maximum profit. It is very simple. If you're ill, your organization will not invest in you. Clear, children? Only when you are healthy, when the organization is quite confident, the employee which it's hiring, they will give good production to their company. Only then they are hired. If you are ill and if you are not sufficient or efficient to actually maintain that particular designation or do work for the particular designation, you are not been hired. So health plays a very vital role for your appointment of any job. Let us go ahead. Do you think any firm would be included to employ people who might not work efficiently as healthy workers because of ill health? This is what we discussed. Now, this is the line where why would any company hire you if you are not healthy? The health of a person helps him to realize his or her potential and the ability to fight illness. The health of the person helps him to realize his or her potential means only if your health is good, you can operate in maximum system. Say if you're in good health, you can do your exercise regularly, correct? You can perform more activities if you're healthy, and if you're performing more activities, you are more productive. It is as simple as that. Clear? So it is only the health that determines the activities that you conduct. He or she will not be able to maximize his or her output to the overall growth of the organization when these people are ill. But if they are healthy, they are obviously going to maximize the overall growth of the organization, as we saw in case of Sekal. Clear? His output grew to the level that it helped the overall growth of the organization he was working for. Indeed, health is an indispensable basis. Indispensable, it cannot be separated. Clear? Health is with you. It cannot be separated outside from any human. So, health is an indispensable basis for realizing one's well-being. Henceforth, improvement in the health status of the population has been the priority of the country. Very true. Only when the citizens are healthy, they can be trained into any sector. If they are not healthy, obviously the immense effect has been given on the treatment. So for the government, it is a challenge to overcome this each and every aspect. Our country policy too aims at improving the accessibility of healthcare, family welfare and nutritional service with a special focus on the underprivileged segment of the population. Underprivileged, where they have no good health clinics, where they do not have good doctors, where there is no good hospitals, no schools, right? So in this particular section, government does immense work to see these people are not left out. Over the last 5 decades, India has built a vast health infrastructure and has also developed the manpower required at primary, secondary and tertiary sector in government as well as in the private sector. Yes, this is the development from the last 5 decades, where the government has worked immensely in the 3 sectors, that is the primary, secondary and the tertiary sector, that is in the government as well and in the private sector as well. There are many places in India which do not have even these basic facilities. There are only 381 medical colleges in the country and 301 dental colleges. Just 4 states like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu have maximum number of colleges. So you can see the major difference over here. While the amount of colleges are more in only these 3 states, and rest of the states they have less medical colleges or less amount of dental colleges. Obviously the students who are interested in pursuing that particular course after their 12th standard, clear, so this keeps them out to actually attain a good education. So overall development of health plus education is essential for the overall development of our country. Clear, children? So I hope you have understood how health plays an important role in shaping not only an individual's posture, but how it helps for the country also to grow. Let us go ahead. So the next aspect is unemployment. The first was health, the next is unemployment. Sakal's mother Sheila looked after the domestic chores, children and helped her husband Bhuta Chaudhary in the field. Sakal's brother Jitu and sister Situ spent their time playing and roaming. Can you call Sheila or Jitu or Situ unemployed? If not, why? Now this is a hypothetical question. Now they are telling that Sakal's mother Sheila, she is busy with the domestic chores and she helps her husband Bhuta Chaudhary in the field as well. But in the second hand, Sakal's brother Jitu and sister Situ, they spend their time in playing and roaming because they are young. So in this case, can you call Sheila, Jitu or Situ unemployed? If not, why? Let us see why. Unemployment is said to exist when people who are willing to work at going wages cannot find jobs. So unemployment, what is unemployment, children? A very simple concept. It is not necessary that if you are educated, you are employed. We all know the scenario of recession as well, right? So it is as simple as that. If you are educated plus you are skillful as well, a position should be created, or it should or it must remain vacant for you to get involved in it, to you to get hired into it. Clear? So unless and until you are hired, you are considered as unemployed. Clear? Let us see ahead. So unemployment is said to exist when people who are willing to work at the going wages cannot find jobs. Sheila is not interested in working outside her domestic domain, that is apart from her housework. Jitu and Situ are too small, they are young to be counted in the workforce population. They are very small, they are below 18. Neither Jitu, Situ or Sheila can be counted as unemployed. Clear? Why? As she is not the human capital, when she is not considered, who? Sakal's mother, right? When she is not counted as human capital, you cannot mention her as unemployed as well. Okay. Now, and this two children, the brother and sister, they are too young to be counted for the workforce population. So you cannot consider them as unemployed. The workforce population includes people from 15 years to 59 years. Sakal's brother and sister do not fall within this age group, so they cannot be called unemployed. Sakal's mother, Sheila, works for the family. She is not willing to work outside her domestic domain for payment. She too cannot be called unemployed. Sakal's grandparents, although not mentioned in the story, cannot be called unemployed as well. In case of India, we have unemployment in rural and urban areas. So both the village areas and the city areas do have unemployment, as I just told you. Either a person has to employ himself, that is self-employment, or the employment opportunity should be created for him so that he can fill the particular area. However, the nature of unemployment differs in rural and urban areas. In case of rural areas, there is seasonal and disguised unemployment. Urban areas have mostly educated unemployment. I just gave you an example. Educated unemployment is what? Where you are educated, where you are skillful, but there is no vacancy regarding the qualification which you have completed. In contrast to the skill you have attained, might be there is no vacancy over there, so you are not been hired by anybody, so you are educated unemployed. But what happens in rural areas? There is seasonal and disguised unemployment. We will see this factor in the coming slides. But seasonal is what? For example, a farmer is working in other farmers, the big farmers field, say, and if the big farmers only requires laborers for Kharif season or Rabi season, he will hire the laborers only for that particular time, say 3 months, 4 months, that's it. That is known as seasonal unemployment. After that, they are unemployed. For 3-4 months, they are getting paid, but rest of the time, what will happen? They are unemployed. So this creates seasonal unemployment. We will see what is discussed unemployment in the coming slides. Let us go ahead. We'll study about seasonal unemployment and disguised unemployment. Seasonal unemployment happens when people are not able to find jobs during some months of the year. People dependent upon agriculture usually face such kind of problem, as we discussed in the last slide. There are certain busy seasons when sowing, harvesting, weeding and threshing are done. Certain months do not provide much work to the people dependent on agriculture. In case of disguised unemployment, people appear to be employed. They just appear to be employed, but they are not employed. We will see how. They have agricultural plot where they find work. This usually happens among family members engaged in agricultural activity. The work requires the service of 5 people but engages 8 people. 3 people are extra. Here we are talking about disguised unemployment, children. I hope you have understood what is the meaning of seasonal unemployment. Clear? Let us study disguised unemployment. So they are giving an example. If a field, agricultural field requires 5 people for its service, but it engages 8 people, then 3 people are extra. These 3 people also work in the same plot as the others. The contribution made by the 3 extra people does not add to the contribution made by the 5 people. If 3 people are removed, the productivity of the field will not decline. Means what? For the particular agricultural field to be worked upon, only 5 people are needed. Clear? But extra 3 people are working upon it where there is no need. Okay? This happens in agricultural families. Clear? So, if the 5 people are doing the work and they are enough, the 3 people are not taken into consideration in the picture even if they are working. The only thing is the other 5 people's work will be reduced due to this 3 people work. Correct? But If these 3 people are removed, the productivity of the field will not decline. Clear? Because they are helping the 5 other people. At last the work has been completed. The field requires the service of 5 people and the 3 extra people are disguised unemployed. Are you understanding the concept of disguised unemployed, children? Where only the 5 people are been getting paid, but other 3, those are not needed. For example, if you take the agricultural family, okay, if all the members of the family are, for example, if there are 10 members in the family and among the 10 only 5 people are needed in the agricultural field and the other 3 of them are just going to help the 5. So who is in profit? Only the 5 people are in profit, right? The other 3 people are just added an extra labor. They are not being profited. It's the same thing. If the 3 people are removed from the particular picture, the productivity of the field is not going to decline. It is not going to come down. Clear? That is the reason the other 3 people, they are disguised unemployed. They must have, or they could have, given their time for the other productivity things in which they are good of. For example, if the other 3 people, they are good in carpentry or any other thing, if they are investing their time over there, productivity takes place and they will earn from that, right? So they are getting the status of human capital, but over here where they are just working as an extra labor, they are seen as disguised unemployed. Clear with the concept? Let us go ahead. So, in case of urban areas, educated unemployment has become a common phenomenon. As we saw in our last slide, students, many youth with matriculation, graduation, and post-graduation degrees are not able to find job. This is because there is no vacancy being created for the education or skill that you have acquired. So everything goes hand in hand. If you are educated in certain field, that should create an employment for you, and this will only happen when jobs vacancies been created in that particular field. A study showed that unemployment of graduate and postgraduate has increased faster than among matriculates. Matriculates are 10th and 12th passed. Unemployment leads to wastage of manpower resource. That is very true. When anybody is unemployed, and if they are well educated and skillful but still they are unemployed, right, this creates the wastage of manpower resource because their skills is not being used, right? And if the skills are not being used, if the person is not being hired, obviously he or she is not able to contribute his skills to the organization or neither to the country as well. So it is the wastage of manpower resource. People who are an asset for the economy turn into a liability. So educated people, where people are good educated and they are very well skilled, clear, even though they are an asset, they, because of this recession, they automatically turn into a liability. There is a feeling of hopelessness and despair among the youth. That is the reason why people do not have much faith in education. But it is very important to be educated because not everyone has the same destiny. People do not have enough money to support their family. Inability of educated people who are willing to work to find gainful employment implies a great social waste. So inability of educated people, why they are unable, or why they are being put into the category of inability rather than able, or ability, because they are not able to find job where they gain good knowledge and where they are learning something, they are giving out their skill too. But when they are denied from this process, when the vacancy is not been created, this shows the utter great social waste. Clear? Let us slide ahead. Going ahead with the points of unemployment. Unemployment tends to increase economic overload. Economic overload where the people are not being hired. So obviously the economic growth of the country is not going to happen, right? What do you mean by economic overload? All the load do come, no, it does come on the heads of the people who are already working. The rate, the percentage of taxes are been higher, imposed higher, and this leads to the tension of the people who obviously contribute to the taxes for the government. The dependence of the unemployed on the working population increases. The example just I gave you, right? For example, if everybody is using road, okay, the employed person, the unemployed person, everybody is using road. The roads are being made through the taxes which are being collected by the government from us, right? But here the taxes of the working people is being collected, but the road is used by both the unemployed and the employed. So here you can feel the economic overload on the working population. The quality of life of an individual as well as of society is adversely affected. That is very true. When a family has to live on a bare subsistence level, there is a general decline in its health status and rising withdrawal from the school system. Hence, unemployment has detrimental impact on the overall growth of an economy. This is just an example they have given. When a family has to live in a bare subsistence level, that is a normal life. Bare subsistence level is compromising everything and living. There is a general decline. Decline is coming down in its health status. Health status where they used to live well, their economic status is coming down. Economic status, when it comes down, clear, that has been compared to the health status of the family. This particular sentence does not relate to the physical health. This is considered as the economic health what we are talking about. And rising withdrawal from the school system. Hence, unemployment has detrimental impact, direct impact on the overall growth of an economy. Increase in unemployment is an indicator of a depressed economy. It's very clear. So, unemployment does show that the economy is depressed, it is coming down. It also wastes the resource which could have been gainfully employed. If people cannot be used as a resource, they naturally appear as a liability to the economy. It is very true. If they cannot be used as a resource, if the job opportunity is not created, obviously, if they are asset, then too they are seen as a liability to the economy. In case of India, statistically, the unemployment rate is low. A large number of people represented with low income and productivity are counted as employed. So even if a person earns 5,000 a month, he also is counted as an employed person even though his income is less. They appear to work throughout the year, but in terms of their potential and income, it is not adequate, it is not enough for them. The work that they are pursuing is they are continuing doing, seems forced upon them. If somebody is been taken work of rupees 20,000, right, For example, if a person is skillful but due to recession he is being paid only 10,000 in place of 20,000, and he does the work of 20,000 in just 10,000. So here you can see that the work is being forced upon him because he has no other opportunity because of recession. We are just taking this as an example. They may therefore want other work of their choice. Poor people cannot afford to sit idle. They tend to engage in any activity irrespective of its earning potential. So poor people, they all know that they have to work, right? So they go to any work, be it of less income or of meager income. If the work is very difficult or if it is easy, they do not see that, they go and work and they earn because they know that their family is dependent on them. Their earning keeps them on a bare subsistence level. Their earning keeps them, their family, okay, on the bare subsistence level. Bare subsistence where you can only live, that is you are earning to just have your food, clothing and shelter in a bare level, very low level, because they are working very hard but they are very earning very low. So low income, they are not considered as unemployed, but the low income too creates major problems in people's lives and in economy as well. Let us slide ahead. Moreover, the employment structure is characterized by self-employment in the primary sector. Primary sector, agriculture comes in the primary sector, right? Farmers are self-employed. The whole family contributes in the field even though not everybody is really needed. I just gave you an example of disguised unemployment. Clear? Even though not everybody is needed, they all contribute into the field. So there is disguised unemployment. See, just now we spoke about. So there is disguised unemployment in the agricultural sector, but the entire family shares what has been produced. This concept of sharing of work in the field and the produced reduces the hardship of unemployment in the rural sector. But this does not reduce the poverty of the family. Gradually, surplus labor from other household tends to migrate from the village in search of jobs. What does really mean? This does not reduce the poverty of the family. If 8 members are in the family and the 8 of them are working in the field, for example, if 8 members are there and only 4 of them is required in the field, but the 8 of them are working in the field, they can share the amount that comes through agriculture. Means they can keep the growth, whatever it is, the wheat, rice, whatever they have grown, and they can keep that, and the surplus has been sold to the market. But there is a major difference. Here, the particular surplus thing has to be shared within 8 people in the family. So that is not going to give you profit. But in place of that, if only 4 people are being needed in the field and those 4 people do the agricultural work and the rest of the 4 people, and if they indulge in some other work, there they are being productive and they can earn their own money. So the money will come in 2 different ways into the same house. Clear? That will help out. But when all the 8 persons are included in just one field where only 4 people are necessary, if 8 people are into that, there is no profit. And this is the reason why these laborers migrate to other villages in search of jobs. Let us discuss about the employment scenario in the 3 sectors mentioned earlier. Agriculture is the most labor absorbing sector of the economy. Very true. Agriculture is the primary occupation and it is the sector which absorbs most labor where people are required in much number. In recent years, there had been a decline in the dependence of population on agriculture, partly because of disguised unemployment discussed earlier. Some of the surplus labor in agriculture had moved to either to the secondary or the tertiary sector. Surplus labor are who? Those who are working just as an extra in the agricultural field. They have moved to either secondary or the tertiary sector. In the secondary sector, small scale manufacturing is the most labor absorbing. In case of the tertiary sector, various new services are now appearing like biotechnology, information technology, and so on. So there is a major conceptual change in the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary sectors. Clear? So here we just saw about how unemployment is been created by disguised unemployment. Clear? When the people are not really needed in the field, they have to be productive by themselves, by engaging themselves into the either secondary sector or tertiary sector. Clear? Let's go ahead. So how the primary sector plus the tertiary sector and the secondary sector can be utilized in a more efficient manner, we will see through this story. There was a village inhabited by several families. Several families were living in the particular village. Each family produced enough to feed its members. They earned enough to feed its family members. Each family met its needs by the members making their own clothes and teaching their own children. So each family met its needs by members making their own clothes, means they are able to buy their own clothes, and without taking any loan they are able to educate their children as well. One of the families decided to send one of its sons to an agriculture college. The boy got his admission in the nearby college of agriculture. So the boy was sent to the agriculture college and he got the admission to the nearby college of agriculture. After some time, he became qualified in agro engineering and came back to the village. He proved so creative that he could design an improved type of plow. Plow is the thing which is used to dig the soil. Now he designed a new type of plow which increased the yield of wheat. Yielding of wheat is what? Production of wheat. Thus a new job of agro engineer was created and filled in the village. The family in the village sold the surplus in a nearby neighboring village. Surplus is what? Extra wheat that was grown due to the boy's plow which he actually designed. So the surplus amount was been sold to the neighboring village. They earned good profit which they shared among themselves. Inspired by this success, all the families after some time held a meeting in the village. They all wanted to have a better future for their children too. So due to this example, due to the boy who went to the college and he graduated himself and he got a job, as he set an example, the other families too wanted their children to go to the school. They requested the panchayat to open a school in the village. They assured the panchayat that they would send their children to school. The panchayat, with the help of government, opened a school. A teacher was recruited from a nearby town. So see, the employment has been created over here. The idea was to open their school and the position of teacher was been created. So now the teacher was been recruited. All the children of this village started going to school. Let us go ahead. So all the children started going to school when the teacher was hired, right? After some time, one of the families gave training to his daughter in tailoring. She started stitching clothes for all the families of the village, for everyone now wanted to buy and wear well-tailored cloths. So see, one more opportunity has been created through education. Thus, another new job, that of a tailor, was created. This had another positive effect. The time of the farmers in going far for buying clothes was saved. As the farmers spent more time in the field, the yield of the farmers went up. The production of wheat, right? It went up. This was the beginning of prosperity. The farmers had more than what they would consume. Now they could sell what they produced to others who came to their village markets as well. Over time, this village, which formerly had no job opportunities in the beginning, had many like teacher, tailor, agro-engineer and many more. This was the story of a simple village where the rising level of human capital enabled it to evolve. Evolve is change into a place rich with complex and modern economic activities. Clear? So this stories gave us a good example and idea how we can create opportunities for ourselves. Clear, children? So here we come to the end of the second chapter, that is people as a resource, where we learned the overview, seeing the population as an asset rather than the liability. We saw the story of Sakal and Vilas. Then we saw the economic activities of women and men. Then we saw the concept of education. Then we came to health, how health is very important. Then we came to unemployment. So this all factors was being covered and well explained. Clear, children? And I request you all to go through the lesson, read the lesson, so you could form your own examples as well. Clear? So let us go to the next slide. Thank you, students, for joining me in this session. PDF of the question answers will be sent to you soon. Clear? Until then, read the lesson, create more examples and treat yourself as an asset, as I told you, rather than a liability. Clear? Until we meet next time, see you, take care, stay fit and stay safe, children. Thank you.